Hey, Hearts fans, welcome back to the Dirigo Union, from the forest to the tide. My name is Charles, and today I'm joined by Chaz and Sean and Rob, and we're back at the Hearts store after coming at you from Hartford on the last episode, seeing them play a preseason game for the first time. Still buzzing, so have to mention it again. But like I said, we're here at the Hearts store, and this is kind of a special episode because I realized as I was driving down, this is the last episode before the Hearts start playing competitive games.
Ooh, goosebumps.
We're almost there.
How many episodes is it? This is 13?
This is 13, and there was some blog content, so it's about 13, 15 since it's been doing this. But I feel like that's a real moment to celebrate.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
for sure.
It's happening thick and fast now.
Man, you love saying thick and fat. I've heard you at least say that about.
My wife
45
says it
times.
all the time.
Okay.
It just rubs off. Ooh,
No,
sorry.
it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. We're almost there. Next Thursday we're all going to be sitting watching the Hearts playing live. Next Thursday,
We're going to talk about it. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping first. So last week, I want to start with that. There was a Dirigo Union event at Bunker Brewing where you guys were making. I didn't get to go, but I wanted to check in, see how it was. You guys were doing flags, and also it was the USL was the opening weekend. Game started on Friday, but the event was on Saturday. And I hear some Hearts players drop by. So Jayden Jones-Riley and Evan Southern may have been there. So tell me a little bit about the event. Tell the fans.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, so really, it wasn't set up for them to come. Like, we didn't prearrange that or anything. They just kind of came in. We were there doing some tifos to get ready for the season, and then watching the opening games, especially the Naples game, because that's going to be our opening league match. They came in. We shot the shit with them for a few minutes. They seem to be really liking it here in Portland. They're really enjoying the fan engagement that's happening from Dirigo Union and everyone else. And yeah, it was a cool experience just having them there talking person to person, as opposed to, what happens a lot in professional sports where you kind of elevate your players and they're kind of on a god pedestal. It was kind of cool. It was just cool to see.
These are real people.
Yeah, they're real people. It was really cool.
And again, it was all out of free will, too. I asked Bobby, I said, hey, did you send them there? And he's like, nope, that was totally their free will.
Was Bobby there?
No, well, I saw him he was serving pizza up at the zoo.
That's right. Thank you, Bobby. Shout out to Bobby serving pizza at the zoo.
Ryan, he said, yeah, they were out of their free will. So, stuff.
Yeah, I think Bobby pretty much said, "Hey guys, why don't you guys go out and do what you want to do tonight?" And they decided to come down and to Bunker and talk to us. So as Rob mentioned, we kind of small talked with them there a little bit, asked them how they're doing. They seem to be enjoying the city, certainly enjoying their time here with the Hearts. And we just kind of small talked it. No real big conversation that I can think of right off the top of my head. Just your everyday small talk conversation. Just seeing how they're doing.
I heard during that conversation, we found out a little bit of news. I don't know if you'll hear this anywhere else, that we played RIFC again in our last preseason friendly, and that it was 2-up Hearts until the last 10 minutes of the game. And that Evan Southern may have had a goal, and he may have had an assist to a certain Patrick Langlois. Did they elaborate on that at all?
They did not.
No,
really.
Not in our conversations.
No.
Okay.
But yeah, so we did hear that from them, which is a cool thing. So, having a team like Rhode Island, which went to the championship in the USLC last season, we played them twice, and we drew them twice.
But this was apparently the starting 11.
Yeah, right. This apparently,
if I mentioned that,
the first match, we don't really know what the lineup was. For this past match, what we heard is that both teams played their starting 11. And the other thing we did hear is that it got a little bit heated, which might make our game on June 28th much more interesting for both teams.
I love it.
Yeah, I think you're going to get that a lot when you get two aggressive style sides playing in a match. The tempers are going to flare a little bit, right? But as long as everyone get themselves collected, and you got people in there kind of dividing up a couple of people there that are maybe kind of having a little disagreement on the field, we'll be okay. But I think you're going to see that when you get two very aggressive sides, which we both are, and you're probably going to see that again in the Jägermeister Cup when it actually counts.
I think we're going to hear that more and more after seeing us in Hartford, how aggressive we were and physical. I think we're going to get under people's skin.
Oh, we are.
They're going to be.
Yep.
But like I said, I'll reiterate it one more time, is that we weren't cheap at all.
Right.
That's what I really liked. Because if we can hit that balance of being very aggressive but clean, that's a great combination.
That's playing good soccer, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Aggressive soccer. And, we have all things point to that's how we're going to play.
Yep.
Let's see. We also want to let everybody know that This will be the last chance coming up here to learn chants with the Union. There's going to be an event on 3/19 at Bunker. It's going to be the last opportunity to learn chants before games, like I said. So get down to Bunker. So the chants have been coming out on social. They look really, really good. Shout out to the Bandits. They're doing a really good job. Let's talk a little bit about some player announcements. We were walking in this morning, setting things up for the podcast, and Hearts were nice enough to make a player signing announcement before we started, which is great. Prefer that to after we start the podcast. So let's start there. I'm going to scroll down because his name is last here, but let's start with Assad Liadi. Do not have the pronunciation down yet. I am so sorry. Did we decide on pronunciation?
I think Liadi.
Liadi. Okay, great.
Yeah,
but he's a forward.
He
The
is.
man's a forward, and he's played with Ollie Wright before. That's all I know. I've got 5 minutes of knowledge on this. So kick us off. Tell us about him.
The analysis is going to be pretty shallow, I will admit, but it looks like he's coming from Lexington. I believe he's on loan to us.
Yes, he is on loan to us.
Okay. Certainly in a striker position, we were talking about needing another striker to match up with Titus or in lieu of Titus, depending on health and so on and so forth, matchups. And so the 6'1", he's going to be our guy. He's going to be our second striker. We have another signing we'll talk about here in just a little bit. Probably play off those guys, but that's exactly what we needed. I believe Bobby said on another podcast that we're going to be right around 23 people. I believe that is the 23rd individual that just came in with this signing here. So I think we're looking at a full team.
Yep. Did you say how tall he was? Do we know?
6'1".
He's 6'1".
Yep.
That seems to be the magic number.
Yeah, 6'1". I don't think we have anyone over 6'1". I think that's pretty
what I'm
much
thinking.
it.
That's
I think that's
right?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder who the tallest guy in USL 1 is. I feel like you should know this, Sean, since you love talking about height.
I think he's the goalie for.
I was gonna say it's probably a
keeper.
It's probably a goalkeeper.
Tormenta. I think he's like 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah,
He's
there
big
you
boy.
go.
Yeah.
When I was watching the Naples games, they were a pretty big striker. He didn't do much, but like physically impressive, which whatever that's worth. I wish I remembered.
It didn't really work out for him that game, I guess.
No, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
All right, so that is our newest signing as of this morning, the 15th, Liadi. So let's go back to our two signings from last week. So Masashi Wada, a Japanese player. I'm so excited. I love the J League, and apparently he's played in every the three different leagues within J League. So he's had a little bit of experience there. And he's an attacking midfielder. We saw some nice goals from his highlights.
Yeah, I think he looks really interesting. So in 53 appearances, he's scored 5 goals over 2 seasons. So I think that's really good. Obviously, the J League has really become a very popular league to sign players out of, especially in the last couple of years, kind of across the soccer landscape. It's a really impressive league, and I think it's great to have someone with that kind of experience coming over here, especially because the USL 1 is kind of one of those more development leagues. It's cool to have a guy coming from a very successful development league coming here to help, break in our players and train them and all that sort of stuff.
I think he gives us another. Because I'm still upset. I've yet to see the Hearts play. You guys have all had the chance to.
I did not go. No, only these two have.
Yeah,
Apparently camping was super important.
It was all right. But yeah, I've watched more highlights of other teams. But from what I've heard, I know from Sean, you've told me that we do play down one side more. I think Wada will definitely give a lot more options of playing down the middle. He can pass really well down the middle, and he's shifty. So I think it opens up the landscape of being a more dimensional than some other teams we've seen so far.
I like that term, shifty. He does kind of look like a shifty player.
He is.
Works.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, to your point, Chaz, you're spot on. He gives us an option down the middle, right? Really, you see, when you look at the tape for Wada, you're seeing him shifting back and forth, being a shifty individual in the middle of the field, tight spaces, making passes out to the wings. So if we are getting clogged up a little bit down that left-hand side, they've seen enough, if you will, for the opposing team, and they're like, anywhere but the left-hand side, we're shutting it down. Water is going to give us another channel up into the attacking third, going down the middle of the field. Yeah. And we saw it down in Hartford, that the Hartford team that was placed on the field they were starting to shift in that direction, trying to stop that channel, trying to cut off the attack into an attacking third. And what you saw is Michelle Poon Angeron play a ball to the right-hand side, which ended up being a goal for Jayden.
That was the Jayden.
That was the Jayden goal.
Yeah.
So this is just a third option, if you will, strengthening that attack through the middle of the field. He's going to be a good player for us. Good option.
Absolutely.
And I guess he found out about Hearts through his connection with our gokeeper coach, Utah.
Yeah.
Which is cool to hear about as well.
No, he was interested in coming over to the U.S., and that connection was already organic. And he said, hey, let me tell you about the Hearts. And it was a good conversation, and we're certainly glad that he had that conversation.
Sure.
Do we know how many players are in USL 1 from J-League?
I do not.
It's not a lot.
I don't think it's more than 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be a
I'd
wild.
probably say
It'd be a wild
probably
guess.
2. I'd probably say no more than 2.
No more
Okay.
than 2.
Yeah.
Welcome, Wada. We are happy to have you, my bud. Let's see. We've also got Nathaniel Natty James. Definitely going by Natty. And he's a midfielder as well. No surprise.
our favorite variety of player.
We love
he's
our
coming from the
midfielders.
Jamaican Premier League, if I understand correctly.
Jamaican. And I got to figure out where he got the name Natty from, because I was expecting,
Natty Light.
I can help with that. So, like I said, there's like a 45-minute clip that was played on YouTube. I believe it was by the Trinidad and Tobago organization, the national team type stuff, right? And in that clip, he actually does reference why he got that nickname. A friend of his said Nathaniel's just too long, and your nickname is now Natty. I'm calling you Natty. And he's like, okay. So my nickname's Natty.
Well, nobody's going to say Nathaniel on the pitch. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's got Natty. It's got to be a soccer thing.
Yeah.
So.
No, yeah. Well, because I was expecting, 6 foot, 185, and but I also forgot he's only like 18 years old. He's actually
Really
now
young.
our youngest player.
I
too.
think he's 20, I believe.
I think he's 19.
Is
I think
he?
he just turned 19.
Okay. All right, fair
And
enough.
yeah,
We
he's
missed his birthday already?
maybe possibly, yeah.
I thought he was 20. I thought that's
he
what I
might
was
be,
reading.
maybe.
Okay.
I think when he was on the last time he played on the national team, he was only like 17 or 18.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, and he's now our youngest signing. So
Charlton, personal question. As a fellow Charles, what were you called on the field?
just Chaz.
Chaz.
Yeah.
I got named Chuck.
I
Yeah.
might
Chuck, because it's so
That's
easy to say.
that's a popular nickname for
And I
Charles.
hated it,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, I hated that because there was that awful show in the early 2000s, Chuck,
Oh, yeah.
that detective show. Hated that show, so I despised that. I despised Chuck for that. But after that, it was Nip Tuck came on after that, and that was a great show.
Well, I like calling you Charlton. We'll stick with Charlton. This is really, really good. All right, so those are our 3 new players.
Yeah.
And I guess we get to look ahead to our first competitive game, which is going to be next Thursday.
Yep.
Correct? Yep, next Thursday, because I'm on a trip until Wednesday. So it's Filens.
Yep.
Filens, right? We think we're pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, CD Filens,
CD Filens.
an amateur side out of Somerville, Massachusetts. Or I'm sorry, Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Do you want to come say hi to the camera? Probably not.
We tried.
You probably shouldn't put kids on cameras. Never mind.
Yeah.
Young fans of the
Bad
podcast.
call. I'm glad he said no. All right. So
But yeah, amateur side out of Cambridge, Massachusetts in the Open Cup. So we've talked about the Open Cup before. It's the only competition which allows multi-levels. So Filens had a very impressive run through the qualifiers. They went in through an open route to get into the competition proper. So I think they played 4 or 5 matches against other amateur teams from around New England and New York to get in. They qualified, and they look like a pretty impressive side overall. They have definitely some players which are fairly interesting, and we were just talking before the podcast saying that in certain situations they might end up posing a little bit of a threat for the Hearts.
you said all D1 players.
Yeah, so all the players for CD Filens have played NCAA Division I soccer.
That's impressive.
Some of them, it's been a couple of years. There's kind of a core group of the team that played at Merrimack College, including their coach, Paul Correa. He's player coach. And then their goalkeeper, Lucas Rezendi. But then there are also some more recent college players, including Max Kraus and Alessandro Arlotti. Those two are kind of the more dangerous people. They're ones we definitely want to focus on the field. Max Kraus played for Holy Cross. He had 15 goals and 22 assists during his college career, and at one point he was nationally ranked in the NCAA for assists. And then
What was that guy's name?
That was Max Kraus.
I remember Max Kraus.
And then we also have Alessandro Arlotti, who he's Italian. He went to Harvard. He had 20 goals and 20 assists and represented Italy on their U17 team at the U17 World Cup.
Nasty, actually.
Yeah, right.
Who are these guys?
I know. Playing for just an amateur side in Cambridge.
You know,
It's exciting, actually, because I want it to be a really good test for the Hearts. You know, the last thing I want, even though it probably would be good, is an easier game. But as a fan, I want to see a really competitive game.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they're big too. Actually, or I don't know if the other team was small in the qualifying game, the NYS New York the team they played.
Oh
in the
yeah,
qualifying match.
yeah. I forget the name of the team. It's New York something.
Yeah.
Defy Lens played.
Defy Lens
that
played in the last
game they played
qualifier.
before.
Yeah.
Us. They just, I don't know if they were just small, but they're a sizable team. So I think it's going to be, again, they're pretty aggressive. So I think it's going to be figuring out just they might. I wouldn't be shocked if they slip one in. I would definitely not say it's going to just be a total cakewalk. I would be very shocked if it's just 90 minutes of us scoring.
Yeah, and just like jitters for your first competitive match for the Hearts. There's so many interesting things going into this game, but they sound pretty impressive as a unit.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be interesting to see how Bobby Murphy approaches his starting 11 for that game. Whether or not he's going to play. I hope he doesn't play second stringers personally, but it's a tempting thing to do to rest your guys for Naples. But I think because it's our first match, it might be the opposite approach. We might play our best players to get them conditioned and ready to go against the Naples game, which is 9 days later.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think, Sean?
So from what I saw in the match that they qualified in, with the goals that they were getting, their patterns of play, you see a lot of kick around in the middle of the field, a lot of heavy touches, amateur sides. It's expected, but they do have a quality in them to finish a ball and put it in the back of the net. So, as what was already talked about, the Hearts cannot fall asleep on these guys because they will make you pay, whether it be a set piece or whether we get caught with our defense, our outside backs pushed up the field. That's going to be a good opportunity if they turn over the ball deep in our half, and both of our outside backs are pushed up field, like we saw in Hartford. And we had Sean Vidberg make a return run and snuff out the danger.
Yeah.
He tracked back. We may not be so lucky next time if that exact scenario happens against Violence. That could be how they get one in on us. But I think one of the goals that I remember seeing that really caught my attention was they were working down the right-hand side. They crossed it over. The cross was a little far. And
they overhit
they overhit it. And it was going outside the 6-yard box, if you will, on the left-hand side of the goal. And it got headed back in front of goal, and then it got headed into the back of the net. And I was like, wow, that is a really nice-looking goal from an amateur club. That caught my attention. So they definitely have got quality to make us pay, but we should be able to handle that matchup, and we should have a pretty decent win on our hands.
Yeah, I think we go into it as favorites just by nature of being a professional team against an amateur side.
Right.
Which is so fun to think about. Our own little version of the FA Cup, kind of, that's happening here. And this is our first taste of it.
Yep.
So, did we get JT registered and all?
I didn't
confirmed
see anything with I knew JT was not much longer, and he was going to be here getting the paperwork all cleaned up, but I haven't seen anything announced. I haven't seen anything with him practicing with the club yet, so I have no visual on that yet.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen that anywhere, and we haven't seen pictures of him with the club, unless I'm mistaken.
I do recall Bobby mentioning on a podcast that he was just recently on that they were having some issues with paperwork with visas for the last 3 players. So I'm assuming he's probably one of them, unfortunately.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a perfect time to discuss one of the new shows that we're going to be doing since we're moving to these games, which are coming thick and fast. Yeah, I know I'm saying it too much. Anyway, we're gonna do a live review show. Actually, the day after games is what we're planning to do. We just did a live run of it last week, and we decided not to air it, even though I thought it went pretty well. So it's called the Post-Match Pulse, and it's going to be mostly guys from the Forest to the Tide. It's going to be an online show, and we're going to talk about the game usually the day after. So the first iteration of that will happen the day after this Filen's game, this Open Cup game. And then we'll definitely have a show down in Naples when we play our opener for the season. Not that sure if that's going to be an online show or if we'll do it in person like this for the people that are in Florida. Cannot wait. I'm going to miss you guys, though. I'm the only one right here that's going, right?
Yeah, I think you are.
That's correct.
Because Mitchell's not here today. Well, I miss you guys. So, should we move on from Filen's and talk about Naples, or do you want anything left to say about that Open Cup game?
No, I'm good.
Okay, great. So Naples will actually be playing its fourth game against the Hearts of Pine. So they'll have 3 games ahead of us. I think I wrote down actually what those games were. So they have already played Chattanooga. We'll talk about, maybe we got some time. We can talk a little bit about the opening weekend games, and then they'll play Forward Madison on the 15th, which is today, actually. The round of games happening today. So this will go up Monday. Unfortunately, we won't be covering those on this episode, but then Spokane Velocity on the 22nd, and then they play us. So, and I think that can only be a disadvantage of ours.
Well, Sean, I think you brought this up the other night when you said that it does give us one advantage, which is that we're able to watch them play a couple extra times
Against 3 different opponents and 3 different possible strategies, right?
Yeah, so that's one genuine positivity.
Probably our only one.
Yeah.
But it's one. A little pint of positivity, if you will.
That's a new segment. Sean's Pint of Positivity. We'll get you at the June Cork, and we'll just Pint of Positivity.
There we go. We can do that.
Sound like you were jumping at the bit, Chaz? No?
Oh, no, sorry.
You got nothing to say? You watching the game?
No,
How's the game going?
I don't know. Not great.
Let it be known that the Everton fan is watching a Wolves game, Shane. One of our Dirigo Union members, a Wolves fan. So
I thought the United game was still on. All right, back to business.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what we thought of Naples, though. Since that game, what was that? Was it the last game on opening Saturday? It doesn't matter. But it was it finished 1-1 to Chattanooga, correct?
Yep.
And let's see, there was a penalty. Andres Farron, defender slid into block across, and that's the one where the ball came up off his body onto his head. I thought that was really soft. I have a couple comments on refereeing in general, particularly from that second game, but that resulted, and that was how they tied it up. And I can't remember what the first goal was, though. That's right. It was Omar Hernandez. He crossed the ball almost from the sideline, and that's the one I thought was funny because the commentator was like, "What a strike!"
Yeah.
And to me, it just seems so obvious that it was a back post cross.
I was like, I thought the same thing. I was like, no way. This guy was like,
he's the Naples commentator. And he was jazzed.
I don't know. I mean, his expression was woohoo. That's probably the first woohoo I've caught on TV in a minute. I was like,
he did. You're right. He did say woohoo. But anyway, commentating aside, the game itself was really a lot of defensive holes and pretty scrappy game.
Yeah, it was rough to watch. Straightforward. It was a rough one to watch. I think there was about 10 or 11 long balls for Naples. They were certainly not interested going down the middle of the field. When they did, they turned it over, and they were on their heels in short order.
I counted how many crosses from the right side they had, and it was successful.
Statman.
12. Or no. Yeah, 12. 12 successful. And those were just the ones that didn't get blocked. So they probably went down the right side easily 20 times that game.
Yeah, Naples is interested in attacking on the edges, and that's after they've delivered a long ball halfway down the field, right? So when I say they're attacking on the edges, that does not mean it's they're running from the back and they're bringing it all the way up the edge of the field, much like the Hearts do. No, I'm talking about they're going to pretend that they're going to play out of the back to lure the front line forward a little bit, and then they're going to launch it downfield over the top of their heads. Yeah. That's what they're interested in doing, right? And then they get down there and they're trying to find some passes. They're having tough times passing the ball, getting into attacking positions. It was rough. It was a rough one to watch.
Yeah.
Do you think that strategy might actually work against us, though? With the high line and the opportunities we did give up might play into that strategy.
Yeah, so if we get a little bit too aggressive, again, much like what we did, we got ourselves into a situation there against Hartford. If they can find one of those against us, yeah, they could put one in. I'm sure they've got the equality enough where they can make us pay, right? They're a professional team. I'm sure they can find the back of the net if it's just between them and the goalkeeper. However, if we see that with the 3 games of tape that we're going to watch, and we say, you know what, no back 3, boys. let's make them prove it, right? I think they might be in for a tough matchup.
Yeah. I also noted I saw, well, I guess they don't really pressure a lot too. They do not press. Their front guys don't press a lot, so kind of gives us time. I mean, again, I haven't seen how we play yet in person. I've heard about it, but we should have plenty of time to get plays developing. And now that we have options down the middle, left, right, I mean, I would be kind of very shocked if it was like I would say we should. So far, we should win that game. I would think.
I'm expecting us to win that game.
Yeah, personally, I mean, so I haven't seen them play, but it sounds like our back line is more physical than their front line is. So I think in that matchup, if they're not good at keeping possession, then that should be a good benefit for us. But yeah, I guess I don't know. The Firelands game I think will be very telling. For me, at least, as to how the team's playing and how I feel about them going into the USL.
We're going to learn so much more. Don't feel too bad.
Because
we're going to learn so much more from that Open Cup game than that preseason game.
Yep.
You know, Hartford wasn't playing their starting 11. It was mostly reserves and some academy players. And also, who knows what we were doing. You know, coaches love to just try stuff because it's preseason, right? So
my feelings are hurt. Your feelings are hurt.
My feelings.
And it also should be said. It's very possible we're going to have 3 more, maybe even 4 more additional players, because JT was still not with us at that point. So.
And Titus didn't feature at all.
Right. So with these last signings, we may have 4 more additional players that could take the field, which will certainly change what we saw down in Hartford.
Yeah.
I would also like to see how we go against Lalo Delgado. I mean, nominated 2 or 3 year nominated goalie of the year, and he'll get out there. He has no problem getting in front of those forwards.
Yeah.
He did pretty much get in a little scrap at the end of the Chattanooga game, and he had no problem handling the Chattanooga guy. So
if I was putting a game plan together for Naples, I'd keep 4 at the back and funnel them to the middle of the field and make them prove they can go down the middle of the field on us. That's kind of where I would at least put the initial game plan and go from there.
I expect us to have more of the ball as well. So
if they keep on kicking long balls like that, we probably will have more of the ball. And if we can tuck away a couple early, we can shift game plans and make it a little harder on them.
Do we know what the possession percentage was for the Chattanooga-Naples game?
I can find out for you really
had
quickly.
67%.
Oh, really?
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Whew. It didn't seem like that much during the game.
They were. I think they really dominated in the second half of the game. They pretty much dominated
I remember
the entire
that
second
as
half
well.
of the game. But I also noticed. But you also probably wouldn't have noticed Chattanooga. I forgot. I wish I had the timer. I got rid of it. Chattanooga probably easily had 20 minutes of just either laying on the ground. That's I think what made the game so frustrating to watch was like their free kicks would take a minute. Their injuries go down.
Think they were milking it?
Oh man, I was like
So
that
they-
game.
Chattanooga felt gravity a little bit heavier than everybody else.
I don't. Maybe it was the slippery ground, the slippery surface.
I don't think
But they were-
Chattanooga is a confident side. I really.
They definitely have some struggles.
Well, speaking of slippery ground, the stadium looked really nice. It looks impressive, that facility. So, and I was a big fan of not having any football lines on it. I'm going to say it again, but I do not think at the professional level teams should be playing on football lines. It drives me nuts to watch, and it's made for a different sport. It kills me.
I am on board. I couldn't be any more on board with you on that analysis. You're a professional team. College, got it. High school, got it. Amateur side, got it. You're getting paid to play this game.
That's right.
You need to be on a field that says you're a professional.
Right. Exactly. And I will allow a point from the other side, which means you do what you can. So finances come into place, and there's all kinds of stuff around facilities and just being able to have a proper place to play. But I will also go as far to say that I think football lines on soccer fields hurts soccer in this country.
It does.
Because you cannot shake the feeling that the game is not important enough to somehow find a way to play on a soccer pitch.
And just watching the game and watching the ball and seeing all these different lines go by that you're trying to ignore, but when you get towards the edges and you're seeing that real thick white line for American football where that is the out of bounds, and they're going over the side of that, you can't help, even though you've watched the game, you're very familiar with the boundary lines. You can't help but, oh, he's out. No, he's not out. Okay, he's not out. So what does that say for people that are learning to watch soccer? Yeah. They must be completely confused watching them play on an American lined-up football field. And I don't understand. Is he out of bounds? Is he not out of bounds? Oh, that doesn't count. Oh, it don't? Okay. Well, what else doesn't count?
Well, I think it screws with the players, too, because, this is a league where half of the players are not from this country. Mm-hmm. So, coming in, never playing on a gridiron ever before and having to learn your cues you have in your head when you're moving up or down the field, you don't have those. You have to relearn them because you got these big, giant white blocks all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it doesn't bother some players, but as a player, in my days, in your peripheral vision, I could not stand it. Yeah. Because you're catching lines, and it just should. I don't agree that it doesn't affect players. And to your point, the sideline, is it Richmond's field? Greenville's field. Man, there's like 6 lines there on the sideline, and then there's a little tiny yellow line, which at least it's the widest line, so it's the last one. You can visually tell yourself that. But man, a lot of lines.
Yeah.
Good news is this is the last year Greenville is playing at that stadium.
Right. Ronaldinho was there.
Thank God.
This week. That was cool to see him. So he's a part owner, right?
Yeah, he's a part owner. Yes. Yeah.
I hope they appreciated his presence. That's pretty awesome.
I still want to know how he learned about Greenville, South Carolina.
He was on a beach somewhere, and somebody was like, "Hey, you ever been to Greenville? I got a project." I'm sure. How else could that happen?
Yeah.
I love it. It was cool to see him. So that was the second game as well. The second game of the weekend was Greenville against Westchester. So yeah, the field was a mess. The refereeing was a mess. But it was interesting to see Westchester because they're being, it's their inaugural season as well. But as opposed to us who are signing people that everybody's saying, who are these guys? Westchester's signing stars.
Yeah, they went for it.
Right? So people are in the power rankings, which we don't know if those mean anything, but they're the ones I saw. Westchester was consistently in the top 5, top 4.
Yeah, I gotta wonder Chaz, you remember what Greenville's position was in the power rankings? Not Greenville. Lexington's preseason position was in the power rankings last year, because Greenville went down the same strategy as Westchester and signed tons of ringers.
Well, but I think Lexington had a different. It's kind of hard because I know Lexington, they were always kind of preparing to go to the championship. So I think they've had that idea in their head that they were going to go to the championship. So I'm thinking they were kind of like, we're going to sign these guys to just get prepared to go up a level. So but again, it didn't work out well because I don't think they even made the playoffs last year.
No, they totally crashed out, and they did have the highest expenditure for each player, and they had like a really stacked roster, and they did it because they thought they didn't want to have the complaint that, oh, you guys sucked and you're getting promoted. So they tried to go out there and sign all these great players so they'd win a ton of games so that they could genuinely say, oh yeah, we're getting promoted because we're a good team. But then they I don't know what happened. They just imploded with all these good players.
On the Discord, like the USL Discord and stuff, it sounds like they have some management issues. Again, I haven't read the full story, but from what I see, I just always see a lot of just the small jabs. I'm like, oh man, it's kind of a little bit of a fire. But
it's one of the many examples that we see in this league, and also the championship, really, for that matter. Is just because you're going out and buying ringers, it doesn't guarantee you anything. You got to have a philosophy, and you got to have a head coach that's going to drive that philosophy, and you got to have buy-in from the players. And if you don't have that, you don't have a team. You have a bunch of individuals running around trying to score a goal.
I still think Oberton Jr. is still going to be probably still a top 5 scorer in the league, though. I don't think that's going to stop.
I think he got man of the match.
He did
in that opening game.
But yeah, I think it's going to be probably a one-man show, at least until they get more comfortable with each other and figure something out. Because I don't remember that game also being. It kind of was again. It was a little bit of a mess.
It was boring. It was incredibly boring.
2 penalty goals.
2 really soft penalties. Where if I was on the receiving end of either of those penalties, I'd be fuming.
Yeah.
But So, sorry. Go ahead, Rob.
Oh no, go. I was just gonna say, it could be the referees trying to make a point though at the beginning of the season, setting their standards for.
If you dive, we will call it.
Yeah, that could be what's going on. Is they're trying to establish, their authority over teams. I don't know. This is not a refereeing podcast.
Good thing it's not.
We can fix that.
But about Westchester, is that the vibe? I know it's only been one game, but disjointed.
I think, to be honest, I think with the exception maybe of the Naples game, I thought the other 2 games this weekend, were disjointed.
Yeah, 2 of them seemed just...
Yeah.
The Friday game we haven't talked about yet, but the 2 Saturday games were really, they were hard to watch.
Yeah, so I think, early on in these first matchups, we're talking about week 1 here, right?
Yeah, preseason vibes.
I would be interested to know what Naples and Westchester did for their preseason and how much they really invested. I'd be interested to know what they did. I don't have that information, but I'd be interested to see
Leave it in the comments.
If we could compare what they did in the preseason versus maybe what some of the other teams like the Hearts have done and what we assume how that will pay off. We yet to be seen. But we feel that that's probably going to pay off early on in the regular season for the Hearts, and compared to what maybe Naples have done or Westchester has done and how we're seeing them perform in their very first matchups in the regular season. It feels like this is really an extension of the preseason for them because they just do not look like they would be anywhere near regular season form right now.
We should
Good point.
we should honestly hold off on this last bit because if this blows up in our face,
No, that's why you're here. That's why we're here
boy.
because
I mean, I've already
we're gonna say stuff that's gonna blow up.
I've already eaten crow once this season by saying I thought that Westchester had a build that was very similar to us, and then the following week they signed like a ton of ringers, and I was like, shit.
Listen, when you look at the power rankings that were put out by the league,
yeah, and they put them at 4th.
And right.
I mean, but how could you not? Again, all the top scorers and some of the statistically best assist guys left the league. So it was like
maybe they'll be the best team in the league. We don't know, but all we can do is talk about what's in front of us. So that game, though, like to your point, Sean, it's almost like maybe a preseason game for a lot of these guys, and it had that feel.
Yeah, and in the nature of the league, right? Top 8 make playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Maybe some teams don't feel they need to invest that much into the preseason because they're like, we can go ahead and just figure it out on the front end of the season. We've got enough wiggle room. All we got to do is make the top 8 and we're good.
Yep.
That's a strategy. We'll see how it works.
I might as well just throw the icing on the cake. If it's preseason, it's preseason until the Hearts play. We might as well just we'll just really just.
Is that what the league was thinking? Is that why we don't play until the 20th?
Still preseason?
Still
They don't have to worry yet. No need to sweat.
So they don't get points, right?
Yeah. We might as well really just go over the top of this one.
It'd be great if they didn't get points. We'll give them 1 each. They
there you
can
go.
have their point
A win's
for
a draw.
Yeah.
You get 1 point.
Well, unlike those 2 Saturday games, the first game on Friday actually had some pretty good moments of brilliance, I would say. Individual brilliance. The game they ended up 4-2. Let me look at this real quick. It was 4-2 in favor of it's just too far.
Richmond over Tormenta.
Thank you. So I mean, it looked pretty even at first. Other than Tormenta had 70% possession in that game. I was saying on the little show that we recorded that didn't live that I actually was more impressed with Tormenta. I mean, I know that's hard to say about a team that has 70% possession and ships 4 goals, but I felt like they didn't have it in the final third. It didn't come together for them, but they had 70% of possession. They moved the ball. They recycled possession. They were very sloppy on defense.
Yeah, they were.
Which ultimately hurt them.
Yep.
But Richmond, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but Richmond was just clinical too. Like both teams had 7 chances that game, 7 shots on target. More chances, but 7 shots on target and into 4-2. So, Richmond's just more clinical. There was an unlucky deflection for the first goal. But obviously I was impressed with Richmond on an individual level, and I was entertained. I thought it was a fun game to watch. Mm-hmm. There were goals.
That first half was actually very fun. It was a great first half to open up the season.
Right. A lot of defensive issues, but
fun to watch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sean's not happy. I remember he's like, these guys,
They're
leaving defenders. Or excuse me, forwards. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So to your point, Charles, defense was wide open.
Yeah, wide open.
And I'm a guy that I like my goals. Don't get me wrong, but I like seeing a nice, strong defense. And if you're going to get through, you need to earn it. And they were just like highways through the back line. Yeah. They made it pretty easy for Richmond to score the 4 goals that they scored, 3 of which were all in the first half. You might as well had a nice neon sign just pointing to the goal, like run through here. Don't worry, there's no one even within the frame of you. It's just wide open. So to me, it kind of took from a little bit of the enjoyment of the first half.
You were not impressed with them.
No, not at all. But if you like nothing but goals and action packed and back and forth, and you just want to see the ball go in the back of the net, that's your half right there.
Is your middle name VAR? Are you just trying to suck the life out of this game? Let's take that goal back.
Toe touch, double touch, toe touch.
I appreciate all lines on the field in terms of formation. I enjoy the defensive line, I enjoy the midfield line, and I enjoy the forward line. It's not just one line. It's not just the forwards. We got 2 other lines, so I enjoy them all, and that's just me. Everyone takes a little bit different out of soccer.
The book was better than the movie.
I like that.
Perhaps that's a fair comparison. Maybe I'm the guy, soccer-wise, that the book is better than the movie. Yeah, that could be that guy.
I do think that in the context of that game, that Tormenta has a lot more room for growth. We saw them bring in a lot of players in the offseason, and I think that first game really what showed is that group of players that came in didn't have enough time to play together, and so they weren't able to play as a unified squad. Whereas Richmond didn't bring in as many players in the offseason, has had a coach that was able to work with guys who already knew his system, and they just had that natural communication that builds over time, and that's how they were able to overcome Tormenta. But as Tormenta plays more this season, I think they're going to get a bit more dangerous and a team to probably watch a bit more.
I've got a film analogy for that game. Indiana Jones. And the swordsman's faced up against Indiana Jones, and he's doing all the sword tricks. And Indiana Jones just pulls out a gun and just shoots him.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, because that is what that 70% possession was.
That's what I mean. It was all side to side. It was all side to side possession. Well, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead,
no, I
Jazz.
guess where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna go?
You don't know where I'm going, so you might as well go first.
I was going to just mention, I was like, also now watching these first couple games, since we are still a supporters group podcast, I noticed so far I was more impressed by the Naples supporter wasn't their supporters group. They were pretty loud.
Yeah,
had a lot of flags. A lot of flags.
A lot of tifos. They were
sold out stadium.
They didn't. Some of their chants, again, some of our chants are pretty basic still too.
You could hear them. I couldn't hear really get the actual
of
words.
course, yeah, but they had some let's go Naples.
Yeah.
But you're going to get that. They have a lot of more kids and stuff. They had definitely. But I think I was probably so far most surprised by they actually have the best one out of everyone that weekend.
The best supporters group.
Yeah, Westchester, Greenville, Chattanooga. I mean, I know Richmond's is probably the. I mean, they're the most historically the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised by Naples.
Sean, did you say you used to follow Greenville?
No, it was Tormenta actually that I followed, and it was one of those deals where I knew the Hearts were coming into the league, and it was I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna randomly select a team and just kind of be like, all right, that's my team. I'm gonna follow along and try to just kind of learn a little bit about the league and the ins and outs of it all. And the one thing that I can say that I benefited from that was to see the coach that Tormenta has down there, and then he's got a championship under his belt back in 2020, so he's done this deal before. And to the point they made earlier that, I think Tormenta can probably grow into the season a little bit. He's the guy that can do it. So don't sleep on Tormenta if they're having a little bit of a slow start. He can be one of those coaches that kind of pulls them all together, and they could make a little noise this year.
But you also spoke to, when we were talking about this, that was a good turnout for them.
It was, yes, to the point of the amount of people they had in the stands. I know there was a few people who's like, oh man, it's not looking all that full.
Sure.
Tormenta has just historically not pulled in that many people in the stands. It is not uncommon to see a Tormenta match, even last season, and you might have 50 to 100 people in the stands. Yeah. I mean, small crowds.
I Googled it. Statesboro, Georgia, where they play, is a city of 30,000 people, so about the size of Burlington, Vermont. Yeah. That's half the size of Portland.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough turnout for them, and I certainly hope that turns around for Tormenta. I hope we start seeing a lot more supporters like we saw in that first game, and even gets better as the season goes on. Maybe a little bit of success for Tormenta can help with that. But I really would like to see a lot more people in the stands for Tormenta down there.
Yeah, I'd like to see every game in this league. There's as many people.
Absolutely.
Get as filled as possible. Back to that, the Tormenta Richmond game. The second finish, I just wanted to say, was really, really accomplished. It was a really nice finish. So the ball was played across the field, came back out to the camera's so low, it's hard to tell how far back out he was when he actually struck it. But let's say edge of the 18. It was bouncing left foot, nailed it right into the ground. It stuck to the ground into the far corner. I mean, I've seen people blaze that over the bar many times. So that was a hell of a finish. That was my goal of that game. And then we had some more goals in the Wednesday game from this last week, which was Greenville again against Union.
Yeah,
Union, everybody has in the power rankings as number 1, and they got spanked.
They're often a slow starting team. It seems to be year after year. It's the same thing where, they're fresh off winning a championship. They're actually 2-time and defending champions of USL League One. Actually did a double last year. I don't know if it's just it's a little bit of a championship hangover or what it is, but we typically usually see this from Union Omaha. So I'm not going to ring any alarm bells if they get maybe a point and maybe another 3 points in the next couple of games. And they're sitting there with 4 points with 3 games played. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
They well, I guess the other thing to note, that wasn't, they did lose their lead scorer, Dos Santos.
Right.
He retired. They lost Pedro Dolabella.
Yeah.
He's, basically their
best
machine in the midfield. And then they weren't even starting their goalie. Rashad Nuhu wasn't even in the game. So when I placed that bet, I wish I knew that.
That would be information I would have liked to have.
But yeah, they were running their secondary goalie, which he's still professional, but he's definitely no Rashid Nuhu.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would probably say they'll be back.
They'll be just
Do you know
fine.
what their replacement situation is?
They did pick up Kunga, I believe. They did pick up just a very veteran forward, and then they just got another veteran, he's coming back, native. I forgot his name as well, but they do have some replacements, but I don't think they're going to be any goal scoring machine like they were. I definitely
so it's a rebuilding year, really. If you lose you're saying what sounds like you're saying is they lost player up top and an engine room player. So that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they were still so high then. If everybody knows
One
that.
of the most important pieces that they did keep is their championship coach.
I was just going to say the coach though didn't.
And that is the biggest cog in the machine that can get those guys back on track and get them heading back towards another championship.
How many games can you lose and make the playoffs?
Well,
I
I
think
think
the answer to that.
I'm gonna try to work backwards into that answer. So I feel that if you want to take the league this year, which is gonna it's gonna get you about probably 60 points. I think is probably gonna win the league this year with the
Which
amount
you
of
get nothing for.
Well, you do get a shield. You get the
Oh, that's right. We
you
talked
get, you
about
get the
that.
supporter shield,
Supporter shield.
and most points in the table. You also do get home field advantage throughout the playoffs. You're the number 1 seed. If memory serves me correctly, I do believe you do get a first round bye. I believe.
I believe there was a first round bye.
I think you do get a first round bye. So those are the things that you get for winning the league.
Can I give a controversial take?
Sure.
Absolutely.
I am way more impressed by a team that wins the league than wins the playoffs.
I don't think that's
We
controversial.
had a
personally.
Maybe in American sports. It's probably controversial in American sports.
Yeah.
I've just never been a playoff guy, and but I'm excited about the playoffs now as a Hearts fan.
I'm kind of treating it as another cup competition, honestly. It's like an exclusive cup competition.
I understand the standpoint of it's tougher and more respected to win a championship when you're playing home and away, everyone up and down the table. I understand that point. My counter to that is this. I would like to be at a match celebrating with my team winning a championship and not watching them in a hotel room saying, we just won the league, right?
Yeah.
I want to bring it in with the supporter section and the people that pay the money to go in and watch their team play each and every day. And when you're not playing in playoffs and you're not playing in a final and you're not playing in a spot where you know that the trophy is getting handed out at the end of this match, you miss out on that. And that's what we gain in having playoffs. Is there a tweak that we can do to kind of do a little bit more half and half and make the regular season matter a little bit more? Yeah, there is. I would suggest that instead of 8 of the 12 or 14 teams making the playoffs, why don't you snug it up a little bit? Maybe just take 4. Maybe that's too much of a cut. Maybe 6 is the right number. That's up for conversation, but I would say reduce that number. So maybe teams aren't saying preseason, whatever, don't worry about it. We'll roll into the regular season. We'll figure it out. Top 8, make playoffs. Not a big deal. Cut that number back, catch some people's attention, make them invest more in the regular season. You might see something a little bit different with these teams.
I need a paper on this Monday morning.
Yeah, no, seriously, I'm like very intrigued in this top 4 thing. I've already got things working in my head.
Making more work for myself.
Yep.
I'm ready to see that tweet from you, Sean, or not tweet, but in the Discord, Sean saying, "Come on, team didn't even win 50% of their games is in the playoffs."
Well, that's kind of like Spokane last season. I mean, no one could say, based on the regular season last year, that Spokane was the number 2 team in the league, but they went to the championship playoffs, and they were in the final. So now everyone's saying that they're the second best team in the league, but I don't know. I have a little bit of doubt.
Getting to that game, I was just surprised what a different game Greenville played to that first game. And, as somebody who's not watched much of the league in the past, coming into this with fresh eyes with the Hearts, I expected more from Union, right? Or from Omaha. So I was surprised at 3-0. They were beautiful goals. Like, I remember them. They were. I forget who the striker was. Chaz could probably tell me, but a great 30-yard lob, down on the right side, and then a beautiful strike. I think it may have been upper 90 there, that second goal. And then the striker that scored the first goal scored the third goal. Beautiful whipped-in ball. Left foot, very Messer-esque, that left foot.
We love
I'm
Messer's
excited to see Nathan Messer. I love that left foot, man.
No one loves his left foot more than Charles.
Oh, yeah. See, that's what I fell in love with a few things down in Hartford.
Thick and thin. Left feet. I'm getting concerned.
I fell in love with all of Ollie Wright, with Messer's left leg. I suppose we could give his whole body the left leg. We like the whole player, not just the left leg. But it was impressive. Yeah, that's what this cross reminded me of. Really beautiful ball from the left, just curled in around the defense, and then powerful downward header. Didn't even have to jump. Standing, moving forward. The goals were pretty, so I enjoyed the game. Yeah. But now I'm disappointed that I know Omaha can just walk it and be like, whatever.
Yeah, you wait until Omaha starts pulling up on plane, if you will. They become a very different team about midsummer. Yeah. And you're going to see them start clicking off some points and moving up the table in a hurry.
Yeah.
And that's how Omaha runs.
Well, bringing it back to the Hearts, unless you guys have anything to add about the opening games.
Nope.
We covered them quite a bit, actually.
I think we got it.
Yeah, I think we got it. The USL power rankings have us pretty far down, which is fair. Very fair. So I think we're 13th in the official.
I say thank you.
Thank you.
The best I've seen.
Fuel.
The best I've seen is we were 7th in a fan poll on the USL show.
Yeah,
that's the best I've seen. But yeah, it seems that everyone thinks that we are the dark horse of the league. No one thinks that we're gonna amount to much this season.
I got to say, those first 3 games, those odds, we're going to make so much money. We're about to make so much, Sean.
Chaz says thank you for a different reason.
Wow. I'm going to be sending you some money for totally ethical reasons.
I hope so.
This is soon from the Force of the Tide, sponsored by Chaz.
So that's all I got to say about that.
Do we want to? I mean, we have not seen a competitive game yet, but do we want to make a prediction ourselves where we end up in the table?
Yeah, I think that'd be.
Yeah, so I'll start off. So I kind of messed around a little bit last night with a table, and I had the Hearts right around 5th place.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a little bit conservative. I think they certainly can be higher than that, but I think maybe on the front end of things, figuring out some teams and the travel, and we got a lot of guys out of college and they're learning how to be a pro. There may be some heartache here and there, and we, much like Union Omaha, we may struggle a little bit early on. But as we had mentioned once before, Rob, myself, and others, we need to start clicking about mid-June probably. And if we can figure it out before mid-June, and we start clicking off some points and moving ourselves up the table, I think 5th place is kind of where we're going to settle, and we'll go to get into the playoffs, and we'll see what happens when we get into the playoffs.
Nice. I like that shout. All right, Rob, where are we finishing?
I would say 6th. I'm pretty much up there with Sean. My one. So Sean, I got some things to say about the other teams.
Do you want to give the audience and the listeners the top, the teams ahead of us in Sean's list?
Yeah.
Let me start off as I did this because I assumed we would all put in our tables and we would have some open conversation about all of our
we're
tables.
just going to attack yours.
Sean, it's St. Patrick's Day weekend. You sent this at 9:03 last night. I was 4 or 5 pints deep already.
Were you concerned for me?
Well, so I didn't get past your number 1 pick. So you said number 1 would be Richmond Kickers.
I did.
Which I don't think anyone has ranked them so high anywhere. 2 was Union Omaha. I can get behind that one. 3, Spokane Velocity. I'm okay with that one. 4 was 1 Knoxville, who this is like a big rebuilding year for them. They have a brand new coach.
They have
I would like to talk about that one.
They have he's probably going to be.
I mean, he's a good coach.
No, they're probably going to have the best strike in the league.
I would
say he's gonna be a
also
top 2 striker
ask
in the league.
which team last year let in the least amount of goals? 1 Knoxville. What players are returning for 1 Knoxville? I think you'll look and see a lot of that defensive back line.
And their head striker.
Don't sleep on 1 Knox.
No. And they have sick kids.
So those are your 4 ahead of us. I would say that for us, I think Westchester might be ahead of us. I feel like they could be in the 5th slot, and we're in the 6th slot.
Unplug his mic.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about the kickers, huh?
Look, we've talked about them and the good players they brought in. They seem to be doing well with everything else.
They found the net in the first game.
I think they could be ahead of us. I don't know what other teams I would say are ahead of us necessarily. I do agree with Union Omaha and Spokane will probably be very good teams. Ford Madison, I probably would put up a little bit higher.
Fair.
I haven't checked to see who they kept from last season.
Where did he put Madison?
Put Madison below us.
That's 6th.
So
yeah.
I would just put Madison above us.
I just felt that this is the year that the Flamingos slip a little bit. They've been a very conservative team for the last couple of years, and haven't really done a lot on offense from what I recall.
Yeah.
I think maybe they slip a little bit on the defensive side, and because of the fact that they have a hard time putting it in the back of the net, they fall down the table a little bit. Yeah.
I think Sean saw how many preseason kits they had, and for every kit they released, they dropped them one
spot.
It's fair enough. Fair way to do it.
I mean, it'd be consistent.
I like the list. I think the only 2 I would change is I don't think Naples will be the worst.
I'm going to put this list on the screen. We're talking about you should. So, apologies for for audio listeners. You won't see it. But
now I will also state this, that it took me approximately, I'm going to say 5 minutes to make this list.
Yeah, but no, so I think you got.
Let's throw that out. Let's throw that out there.
Yeah, I think it's good. And then Charlotte, I think is going. I think Charlotte actually might be a very solid team. They just picked up Cheney, who left Ford Madison.
Yes.
And he just went there. He's going to be probably their head striker.
Good call.
He can do backflips.
Good call, Chaz. Yeah. And he's back with Charlotte, which I didn't know. I didn't know that he was there in Charlotte once before.
Yeah, I didn't know. A couple of years ago, and they have great jerseys. I don't know if you guys have seen.
The new jersey's real nice.
They might. I think they probably have the second best jerseys behind us.
My brain, as soon as we got our kits, shut off looking at jerseys. I was really into jerseys, kind of researching what the league jerseys look like up until our stuff was revealed.
Yeah.
And as soon as our stuff came out, I was like, I don't care anymore at all. I was like, I don't care.
We've got our kits.
If
we're
it's
good.
got a flamingo on it or a pink bunny rabbit, I like my kit.
I'll say, Molly, you're gonna love them. They're pretty much just like Brighton and Hove kits.
Oh, okay.
They look
Gotcha.
Same thing.
I did see those. They're very Brighton-esque.
Yeah, they're Brighton-esque.
Well, I had us as 5th or 6th, but I'm not going to say the same as you guys. So I'll put us 4th. I'll be optimistic there.
There you go. Top 4.
Give us a Champions League place.
There you go.
Sorry, we interrupted you, Chaz. So
No. I was done. I was going back to this. Yeah, I like 5th. I liked it. Like I said, those are probably.
So we're all right there. We're all.
I think we're gonna be. I don't think we're gonna be the. I think we'll definitely have. I mean, it's a long season. Jägermeister game.
So I believe we're 4th. We're 4th, 5th, and 6th. I believe across here is what I recall hearing.
Yep.
Yeah,
There
4th, 5th, 5th.
No,
Oh, sorry, 5th
Yeah.
and 6th.
Oh.
Yeah.
Robinson-
Mitchell's rolling right
Robinson
now.
sixth.
He's
I'm the
probably like,
pessimist.
oh, because we're making these
we can-
predictions.
we can-
Yeah,
we-
Mitchell's
Mitchell's like,
definitely-
don't do it, guys. Don't do it.
We can tell you what Mitchell's is. It's first.
It's first place.
We
It's
win it
first
all.
place.
We win everything.
You know what's great is
Oh,
this
God.
is the clip
That's Mitchell's.
I don't-
at the
I don't
end of
hear
the
it.
season that we'll be looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
This will get clipped. We can go back and see how we did.
It's fun to do these types of
It
things.
is
That's
fun.
that's part
It is
of
fun.
being a supporter, and certainly being in a supporters group, is to have some fun with this stuff, right? And it's good that you don't take it and file it away. To Charles' point, and forget all about it. No.
No, I wanna-
You go back and you revisit it.
Yeah, I don't wanna
And you
hide
say-
from
And you
this.
say, okay, let's pull up Sean's table that he did in 5 minutes.
I
Let's
think
see how we did.
this is an underlying.
Richmond
theme.
finished 14th.
Yeah, we're coming for you, Morrissey. Basically, that's what this is now.
That's what it is.
Now this is we're coming for Morrissey.
Yeah.
I will say in the looking at the league's official predictions as well. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but like I'm happy they have us low. I would much rather be there and play above. And if we play how we're predicted to, or if we finish how we're predicted to finish, and fair enough, we don't know. But I think it's much more fun to try and beat expectations.
Oh, absolutely. You always, and this is just my opinion. You're probably going to see him get a little bit more, as a common word we use on the show, jazzed up when you say, yeah, Portland's probably not going to be so hot this year. They're probably going to be down the bottom of the table. How quickly do players get motivated when you tell them, yeah, it's probably not going to be a good season for you?
Right. Use that as motivation, baby.
I'll tell you that you said that to a player the other night, and they were like, "One, I don't look at that stuff." But then the second thing they said is, "That's crazy." So
some players will tell you they don't look at that stuff, and then the truth of the matter is they do look at that stuff, but they don't want you to know they look at that stuff.
Yeah.
So there's two sides to that.
yeah.
I would look at it 100%. 100%.
Oh, God.
Motivation, just fuel, absolute fire fuel. So, well, I'll tell you what, we'll wrap this up, and we will see you next after the game, after the Open Cup game at Lewiston. We expect quite a good turnout.
Yeah, I think we're pretty close to the 2,000 tickets the club wanted to sell for the match.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a full match.
Last time I recall, I think, and this is like a couple of weeks ago, I remember seeing something in the vicinity of 1,800 tickets sold.
It's going to be rocking. Lewiston's going to be rocking.
I was talking to a few people that were looking for tickets. I'm like, you better hurry up.
Yeah.
Because 2 weeks ago, I saw that there was less than 200 available. So you should be moving on those tickets if you're interested on going.
Yeah. And go. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
go ahead,
I
Jason.
was going to say before we exit here, I know since you guys aren't going to be podcasting until Naples, I don't mean to do this to you, Sean. Do we know have you figured out the first away
day?
Yeah, no, that's a good call, Chaz. So for the away day for the supporters or the fans or even people that are just generally interested that are not making their way down to Naples, we are going to have our first away day. It's been confirmed with the venue that we are going to be having it at Rising Tide in Portland, Maine, is where we're going to have our first away day watch party. Awesome. So shortly we'll be putting out an email to gauge the interest of the Dirigo Union supporters and start working our way towards a head count. So we can, of course, provide that to the venue so they can properly plan for us as we come in and we watch some Hearts football. It looks like the hours for our supporters group to be in there and watching it's probably about 6:30 to 10. So Rising Tide, very gracious and staying open a little bit later for us so we can watch the Hearts. So thank you to them. And we'll have some information out for the next two games following very shortly.
Big fan of Ishmael. Big fan. It's one of their beers.
Good shout out, Chaz. Thank you for saving us there. That needed to be said. So the away days, but perfect. All right. Well, make sure you also check out our content. Shout out to Blazing Musket on their channels. It's another place where you can see the Forest from the Forest to the Tide content and also other content from the Blazing Musket that covers soccer around New England. And we're going to finish up with an Up the Hearts here as we get ready to play our first competitive games of the season. Up the
Hearts.